I want to tell you how I met Dr. Martin Luther King. In speaking to people about this freedom and letting it ring, and let me offer my brief candle to the light that we're shedding here. Sometimes we get it right, and I think St. James has gotten it right to create space for us to slow down and do some deep thinking. If we're going to actually have a big dream of us coming together. Because with a big dream, we're going to have to summon up the courage to work for it and to struggle for it. And you can hear in that speech, and if you know anything about the history of those times, nothing was given just because it was promised in some words. Black people were considered 3/5 of a person when we set up the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and we just got it wrong. Sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it wrong. Would you agree in school, sometimes you get it right? Anybody been wrong? If you haven't been wrong, then you haven't been living. So in my brief candle and brief moment, I want to share something about our capacity to rebound, because you don't always make every shot. If anybody's ever played basketball, St. James getting it right today. We're getting some concepts out, we light some candles, and we have people of different so-called races in the room together, working together. We're one human race, and folks seem to want to be special, so they create some false pseudo-races, and we got to stop this pseudo-species slaughter. And we got to learn to rebound. That's some of what the person was saying about the sermon that King gave about our ability to forgive. Think of it as resilience, of rebound. Not just keep shooting the same shot. We get it right sometimes, and we get it wrong sometimes. The church got it wrong when it said the earth was the center of the universe and used to kill people. Got it wrong. Church does a lot of great things. Sometimes we get it wrong. Now everybody take a look now at your hands. I want you to put your hands out in front of yourself and think about somebody deciding the great things you're going to do in the world based on the color of your hands. The way that they do this is they have to lie. I want you to get this. Everybody in the room is great. Everybody in the room is good. But just turn to your neighbor and say, I'm not that special. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. It's a circumstance that you would not have the opportunities you have at St. James School. We all are blessed, and we need to take advantage of those opportunities. Now, if somebody lies about the color of your hands, you have a choice to swallow the lie or to question the lie. Now, I'm going to tell you how easy it is to swallow a lie. Everybody in the room today, I want you to participate, just like you came up and we read the poem together with your leader. You participate in the candles. You got to participate with this. Now, everybody in the room ought to know what the word spells, S-H-O-P. What does that spell? Shop. Shop. Reasonable English word. Little baby doesn't know it. Little baby is profoundly ignorant but brilliant, so they can learn any of the world's 3,000 languages. We speak English here, so you know that word spells shop. Now, as you look at your hands, I want you to yell out the word shop and look at me, because I'm going to pace you, and I want you to yell it out so fast this room starts shaking. All right? Here we go. Here we go, 5 times. Shop! 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 And what do you do with a green light? Stop! Why do we stop in the room? Why do we stop at the green light? Because you just got programmed. You just got programmed. You see how fast it can work? If I expose you to something, your brain starts absorbing it and holding it. And I didn't tell you what to do at the opportunity to work with some other people or to go forward. I didn't tell you what to do. I said, what are you going to do? What do we do in the room? We got it wrong. But somebody in this room got it right. somebody in this room got it right. So sometimes we get it wrong, sometimes we get it right. We got to learn to rebound. Because we've been programmed. There's nobody can tell you who you are based on the color of your hands. Here, I want to tell you how I met Dr. Martin Luther King. I got a chance to meet him when I was your age. And it happened in Columbia, South Carolina. Before the sermon was given that was just read to you, a little bit before that. And I was growing up there, and in the Deep South at that time, as you know, people had decided that the color of your hands means everything. And they even justified it saying that God ordained it and a lot of other garbage. This is not only an error, this is stupid. And it's stuck on stupid. When I was very young, your age, out there playing basketball in my yard, and I saw some white men come up to the yard. And back then, this was exciting because everything was segregated, and you didn't see white people coming up to your yard. And I ran up to my mother and said, "Some white people in the yard." This is very exciting. She came out, and it turned out to be some men trying to recruit us to Christianity. This is right before meeting Martin Luther King and some other people. Some white men came up on our yard telling us about Christ, and they had cars and pictures, and Christ was white, the angels were white, the disciples were white, and they had a story, and it was all white. I kept wondering, this sounds a lot like the same life I'm living, and it didn't feel right to me. And I was asking questions as children would do, and my mother was chastising me because she was so afraid that we would offend these white people teaching us about God and Christianity. Now keep in mind, my parents were cotton farmers who were not allowed to go to school because of the color of their hands, but 3 months out of the year, you're blessed to go to school and to learn. Later on, they became college professors. You're talking about people that are teaching. My dad learned 5 languages, taught religion and philosophy and foreign languages because he rebounded and kept pressing on. He had a dream for his life. So these people are telling us about Christianity. My father's a pastor and teaching about all world religions, but they sat there and listened. Because they were afraid of what would be the repercussions of saying to people, time out. You know, we know a little bit about this topic as well. And the punchline of the story is that the people left us saying if we were really, really good, that one day we'd have the privilege of not going to heaven, but going to colored heaven. Back then they used to call black people colored. And my parents just smiled and said, have a good day. And later on, they chastised me for asking 25 questions because I'm saying, we got to go to colored heaven and face all this nonsense. I'm not that interested in school, religion, anything else. And they said, don't get depressed. There's something around the corner that we're working on. That's why I'm coming up to King. Because a little while later, not that same day, out there in the yard, I noticed some cars pull up to my father's church. And there were Martin Luther King, Abernathy, Hosea Williams, C.T. Vivian. Some of these names don't resonate with you now. Till you start studying history, you're going to see some of these names again. And a whole bunch of cars came up with white people in them. I ran to the house again. Mama, there's white people in the yard. She said, but they're different. Because these were clergy, and these were business leaders. And Dr. King and whites and blacks were getting together, talking about how we were going to change our town without any bloodshed. They met for hours and hours and hours because some of the deeply racist people in that town were in that meeting. Because they were trying to negotiate with them. They're saying, if we can negotiate, we don't have to struggle and march in the street and risk lives being lost. And after about 5 or 6 hours, they came out of that church. I remember my dad having tears in his eyes. He was so elated. He said, in this town, we're going to change it. Because today, we agreed under the context of both Christian love, but also what's smart to do. Let's get it right, that we're going to work together. And so, in our town, we went to the restaurants, we went to various things, and things began to gradually break. I'm going to come off of this with this wrap up. You can have any dream you want as long as you're willing to work for it and stack your capabilities with other people's whose hands look a different color. Because we got a big dream and we can't do it by ourselves. We run out of dreams that we can do by ourselves. I was super depressed about that colored heaven and elated when I heard we were working together for change. And at that time I was your age. I didn't know that things would fast forward, and by the time I graduated from high school, I'd have an opportunity to go to Harvard University. No way I could see that being in the 5th grade. And I just had breakfast with my 6th grade teacher to say thank you, because you gave us in the 5th and 6th grade things that I saw again at Harvard. That's how hard you taught me. Not for a segregated world and a colored heaven, but to say that I'm a citizen of the planet and no telling where we're going to be. So I thanked him and bought him breakfast. He ate a lot of pancakes. And he thanked me because he said, without you, Thomas, I would have just maybe taught the 6th grade work. You told us to keep on pushing. Don't stop at our grade level. We've got work to do. So I want to leave you with this thought, because you're standing on the shoulders of Dr. Martin Luther King, but a lot of other people. That's the face of a movement. If you study this movement, they had janitors and maids and doctors and lawyers and pharmacists of all backgrounds, Hollywood movie stars. He's the face of a movement. You're the face of a movement. And just like you're standing on his shoulders, some other children are going to stand on your shoulders. So pay attention in school, never doubt yourself. You make an error, bounce back. Shop, shop, shop. What do you do at a green light? Go. We go. Look how fast we recovered. Look how fast we rebounded. Because we were able to listen and think about our dream and work for it. Now, when other people stand on your shoulders, that's the way it's supposed to work. And I'll leave you with this thought. A man and woman cross the street in the rain. A raw and drenching and cold rain. They cross the street stepping gently, looking 2 times north and 2 times south. Because a son and a daughter are on their shoulders. No car must splash them, no car must drive too near or get close even to their shadow. This man and woman are carrying the world's most sensitive and precious cargo, but their clothing is not marked. Nowhere do their jackets say fragile human life. Precious human life, handle it with care. Their ears are filled up with breathing. They hear the hum of a boy's and a little girl's dreams. They hear it deep inside their souls. We're not going to be able to make it in this world if we're not willing to do what they're doing with each other. The road will only get wide and wider, and finally it'll get too treacherous to cross. The rain, the raw and drenching rain, will never stop falling if we don't become the shoulders for someone else.